I have a story that comes from my family's homeland of Bohemia. It's a story that is much disputed as to its historicity. The great priest and traveler Cosmas wrote it down in the 14th century, but there's much disputation as to its truth. I'll let you decide whether amongst yourselves whether it is true or not. It is the story of how Lubushka the queen gained a husband and founded a dynasty. Now you must understand that Lubushka was the third daughter, the most beautiful and the wisest of the great King Krok, who was the descendant and the heir of Czech, the founder of the Bohemian people. Czech had founded the Bohemian nation, coming across the mountains and finding a lovely place to settle, had settled, and had left as his legacy Krok and Krok's daughters, Lubushka and her two sisters, who were both wise women, but who were not chosen in the wake of their father's death to be rulers, because though each was wise and was well liked by the people, Lubushka had the best talent for knowing the minds of the people and knowing the wisest decision to make in the situation. And so upon her father's death, she was chosen to be judge of the people, for the Bohemian people did not have kings as we know them. They had elected tribal elders, judges. The time that Lubushka ruled was a time of great expansion for the people, and not all of the people were pleased with all of the judgments she made. One day in her judgment hall, she stood upon the case of two brothers who were disputing upon some land. She decided the case in the favor of the younger brother, and the elder stamped his cane in the court and said, "This is what comes of being ruled by women. We are the laughing stock of our neighbors, because they say that we are weak because we let our will be ruled by a woman. See how she rules. See how she judges." At this, Lubushka grew wroth, and she said, "That is so. I am only a woman. You have elected me to be your ruler. If you are no longer pleased with my judgments, perhaps it is time that I choose a co-ruler. I will tell you how you may find a man whom I will marry and who will be my husband, and together we will found a dynasty that will lead the Bohemian people." Lubushka called for her steed. This was a great white horse, a beautiful horse, and it was said that with this horse, Lubushka rode the land at night and followed the horse throughout the land, and it was thus that she gained her knowledge that allowed her to arrive at such wise decisions. Lubushka called forth her steed, and she also called two messengers, and she said, "You two messengers, follow this steed. He will lead you across the mountains into a strange land. There you will find a man following two oxen behind a plow. You are to say unto him that he has been chosen to be king and my husband. You are to give him this token, and you are to bring him back. Thus we will rule together." The two messengers left and followed the steed. Over mountains, over streams, to a land of peaceful farmers they came, and lo, they found the man that Lubushka had described. He was following two oxen behind a plow. The man was plowing, did not see the messengers. They hummed and said, "Good Lord, we are here." He turned, he saw, he looked at them, he clapped his hands thrice. The oxen disappeared. He took the whip that he had been using, the goad, and he struck it into the ground. The messengers watched him for a second. When they looked again, they saw that the goad had become a tree. It had 3 branches. The man, who was Premisil, the founder of many prestigious Bohemian dynasties, said unto the messengers, "Sit down, let us have lunch." They said, "My lord, we have come to tell you that you are to come and marry Lubushka and be king." He said, "Let us have lunch." He took from his pouch some bread and some cheese. He passed it to them. They sat, they had lunch. He said, "See this tree that is growing here? It has 3 main stalks." He said, "You see one of these shrivels and dies," and it did as he pointed. He said, "You see the other shrivels and dies," and it did as he said so. He said, "You see the third? We'll found a dynasty that will last through time." At this the messengers were most amazed. They sat, they had bread and cheese. Premisil took off his shoes, he put them in his bag, he handed them to the messengers. He said, "Though I am to become king, I never want my descendants to forget their origins. So I decree that these shoes and this bag shall be paraded before each of my descendants, so that he shall remember from whence he came, and thus it has been done till this day." Przemysl returned with the messengers to Prague. He married Lubushka the queen. They had many children. They founded the city of Praha, which exists on the Vltava River to this day, a most beautiful and wondrous city. And thus was the Przemysl dynasty formed.